Hello and welcome to HBM's Crypto Corner for Wednesday, March 3rd, 2021. We have a few things to talk about, so let's get started. First of all, Bigfoot filmed in Florida. Now you take a look at this. This is supposed to be the video, or from the video. This is a still from the video. You can't tell much about it. That could be a person for all we know. I mean, there's no prerequisite for this being a Sasquatch. Did the person go over there and look for footprints? The person who filmed it? He has returned to the area several times. Now, has he looked for evidence? That's my question. Has the man looked for evidence? I wonder about that. This is nothing more than a blob squatch. And really, it's useless as evidence, if you ask me. And you guys may remember last week I talked about the thylacine photos that were supposed to be released. Well, one of them has been released. Well, actually, they've all been released. Here's a video. Thought y'all might want to check this out.
Everybody's hanging to see these photos, so I'm not going to mess around. I'll get straight on with the job of showing them to you. We've got a night image. Now we've got two eyes and a set of ears down here and a little face, tiny little thing. Then it gets really interesting because the animal comes into focus. Clearly no photoshopping or any editing going on here. What an interesting little face. Now my vet with over 30 years experience said there's no way that's a cat with a muzzle that long. Look at those little rounded ears and that broad head. Doesn't look like any quoll I've ever seen before. Certainly doesn't look like a cat. What is it? Who knows? My dog expert that I spoke to before told me that that muzzle was too long for a cat.
He says, what is it? Who knows? But he's trying to present the idea that it's a thylacine. But yeah, he says, what is it? Who knows? Something weird about that.
Yep.
Would you agree with that?
Yep. I'd certainly agree with that.
So we've got an ambiguous photo, which is black and white because it's infrared at night. But sort of fitting the right kind of shape for a juvenile maybe.
Yep.
Got the small rounded ears.
Yeah, no, I certainly would agree with that. Yep.
Image 862. Image 863. Is that a wallaby? It looks like it's walking, not hopping. Certainly a long linear looking body. It doesn't have that large curve on the rump that you'd expect to see. A little bit of shading there, or is that stripes? Definitely got an interesting ear here, because look at this. It's way over near the edge of the line of the body. Not in here narrow like a macropod. They've got small, narrow faces. Bennett's wallabies and paddymellons. I would expect the other ear, if it was in the frame, to be about here. Rather broad head for a paddymellon, don't you think? Image 864, the next image, and the image that I'm hanging everything on because I know what I'm looking at here. And I'm certainly not looking at a paddymellon in my opinion. But like I said before, there's lots of opinions out there.
In your opinion. Now you're saying in your opinion. But is it the opinion of a preeminent analyst of alleged thylacine evidence? This video is 19 minutes. I'm not going to go over the whole thing.
There. If you have a look at this animal, you can see several points about this animal which make it much more like a four-legged animal than a hopping one. For starters, it's got a dead straight back. It appears to be walking on all fours. It has a nice stiff tail pointing straight out like everyone reports about thylacines. And what's that we have here? Look, stripes. Several stripes on the tail, several stripes on the rump, and actually like a band going all the way around its back and continuing down on the other side rather evenly, not looking like a shadow that you'd expect to possibly go off straight if that was a shadow. That is a stripe going around its body. If you read Nick Mooney's report, he reports on stripes. It's got the shaggy hair that I've seen on the juveniles in the Adelaide Museum. It's got the right coloured hair. It's that fawny colour. But most of all, it's very stocky if it's a kitten. And again, look at the level of where that ear is in relationship to the edge of the animal, looking down that line. Rather broad head for a kitty cat. Certainly not a cat or a kitten in any way, shape or form. The other really distinguishing feature that we have here that is golden, as far as this being a thylacine goes, is it's got...
We're seeing it from behind. We're not seeing it from the front. If we were seeing it from the front, I could say, yeah, that's either a thylacine or it's not. But we're seeing it from the back. That's the problem.
Two rather shiny little hocks. It's clearly leaping over that little bit of a branch there, and it has got rather shiny, leathery, smooth, very young, very fresh pads because it hasn't spent a lot of time on the ground. This animal hasn't been out the pouch for very long at all. A, because of the quality of those feet, but also B, because it's so tiny. Look at the size of this thing. This is a small animal. Now, my dog expert has gone over it and said it's of no breed of dog that he's aware of. Now, this man has over 60 years experience judging dogs. So anyone calling puppy, knock yourself out. My cat expert has also said there is 4 distinct features about this animal.
Why are they unnamed experts? Why not come forward with their names? Why not come forward? Why don't they identify themselves? Nick Mooney believes this is a patamelon. Now, I have to admit, I'm not familiar with patamelons. I'm not familiar with really any animals from Tasmania. But I need a little more to go on than just ambiguous photos of something from behind.
That make it not a cat. The straight tail as it walks, the smooth shiny hocks, the shaggy coarse hair, and of course that very stocky body. So there's 4 features that make it not a cat. It certainly looks like no paddy melon. 5 vets have looked at it, and the 5 vets all agreed that it certainly looked like a 4-legged animal and not a macropod that hops. Third and final photo is this one. And look at this. Again, we have an interesting shot. Yeah, sure, that's a paddy melon. Is it? Have another good look at it. There are some very telltale signs here that this is everything but a paddy melon. For starters, the way the tail sits as it's lifting itself up. Kangaroos or macropods use their tail to counterbalance as they propel themselves off their feet. Look at these feet, by the way, too. Rather broad, and I'm counting 1, 2, 3, and probably 4 over here, toe pads with claws in an alignment like the rear foot of a thylacine. Another good point too. There's those shiny hocks. Thylacines have short feet. They do not have long feet like a wallaby or a kangaroo. Their feet are short. That's why they're called hocks. We have evidence of striping on the tail. But again, we have that same interesting line between the ear and the outside of the animal. There's the ear of the animal, and it's a lot closer to the edge of the animal than it is the middle. So if we're going to go with an even balance there, I'm going to say the other ear is hidden, and it should be roughly about here. Rather broad head for a paddy melon. Must be the buffiest headed paddy melon around. So, like I said in my original video, the mother and the father are clearly a little bit ambiguous. They're not giving away many secrets. But why the hell would a baby thylacine, which I'm absolutely confident that this animal is, be following a padymelon and being followed by a padymelon? Questions do arise out of this bizarre revelation. Here we have a carnivore hanging out with two herbivores. Can somebody please explain to me why this is occurring? I'd love to know. It's not a bandicoot.
No.
It's not a potteroo.
No.
It's not a water rat.
Well, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to watch the whole video, but I'm going to, obviously, and I appreciate Coast to Coast AM for keeping us updated on this, by the way. And I think that there's going to be more developments as this continues, as this story develops. So, stay tuned. That's all I got to say, is stay tuned. Ken Gerhard has come out with a new book about Loch Ness Monster. He believes that they are descended from an ancient group of serpentine whales. Now, the late Roy Mackal thought that Nessie was a zeuglodon, which was a long-necked whale. Now, I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of theories about Nessie. We all know that. We all know there's all kinds of theories. One of the most recent was from Dr. Henry Bauer. That's an ancient sea turtle. There are those who say it's a long giant eel. Who really knows who's right, who's wrong? We don't know. We don't have a type specimen. And we don't have any confirmed eDNA either. So obviously this will remain a legend until perhaps a corpse washes up on shore. And speaking of Ken Gerhard's book, it's profiled on the Loch Ness Monster blog. Along with another book, Sun, Sand, and Sea Serpents, which has a foreword by Lauren Coleman. Now, I've already ordered my copy of Ken's new book. Hopefully he'll be sending them out soon to those who ordered them. And finally, I just want to talk about a couple of programs that aired last week and this past weekend. There was a program on Friday night on History Channel, The Unexplained with William Shatner, and it was about Bigfoot. And it was a good show. Dr. Jeff Meldrum was on there. So was Todd Neese. Todd Neese was on there as well. And Matt Moneymaker. It was good. It was enjoyable. And then there was another program on the Reels channel called Bigfoot, I Saw It. It featured Dr. Meldrum and Bob Gimlin. They also talked a little bit about lake and sea monsters, the sea serpents. They devoted some time to that as well as to Sasquatch. And it was a very respectful show to the subject matter. Well, so was the unexplained. But obviously, the one on Reels was actually very respectful to the subject matter. And I appreciated that. Because it could have been mocking, it could have had sneering skeptics on there. But they didn't do that. They treated it respectfully. They treated the subject matter respectfully. I thought that was a good thing. That's going to do it for this week. I want to thank you very much for tuning in. You guys are the heart of the show. I always say that, but I always mean it. And I will continue to do this as long as you want me to. And until next week, hey, y'all be good or be good at it. This is HBM's Crypto Corner.